The FCS college football experience, CAA conference season preview and picks episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks, brought to you by our very own Patreon. Yes, score exclusive perks, content, and contests, including our NFL win totals contest with a $1,000 prize. Join today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Yes, download the Game Time app to get last minute tickets at the lowest price guaranteed. Use the promo code CFBX. Get $20 off. You got to get that. So CFBX for $20 off. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
Hey, folks, this is Bud Foster. You're listening to SGPN. Let's let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. CAA, the Colonial Athletic Conference season preview and season preview and picks. We're going through it. You know I love me some CAA. Shout out to 3802 in the chat saying long live Colonial. Yeah, we're not doing that other bullshit. All right, get out of here. You're rocking with Dundee. All right. Yes, you might be wondering who the hell you're listening to. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
And you're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist pussy. And I'm after you, buddy. You're going to pay for it. Good night.
Yes, we are talking the CAA, the Colonial Athletic Conference. 15 teams these days. Woo! Woo! Thought it was bad in the Big Ten or the SEC. Going to 1,000 teams. We're rocking high here. You're going to need a Flow Sports subscription, folks. A little bit of a pain in the ass. But over here at the SGPN studios, God's Eye is rocking with the Flow Sports subscription. You can get the games on demand. But to really conquer the CAA, you're going to need that Flow Sports subscription, all right? Flow, like the TV show. I'm joined by my co-host. This guy knows college football as good as any. They call him the Gulf Coast Guru. I give you one and only Mike Rose. How you doing, brother?
What is up, man? I cannot think of a better way to get off work down there on the grind. LiveEdgeSlabs.com, LiveEdgeSlabs LLC, Instagram and Facebook. Check it out. But you go ahead, you get off work, you come home, and you talk a little Colonial. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to get canceled.
Yes,
you're going to have to find a new co-host for the FCS podcast.
No, I'm going to need because you know what's going to happen. I'm going to order a slab. A nice table that's going to say Colonial Athletic Conference, or I'm sorry, Athletic, whatever the fuck it is, and Athletic, yeah, CAA. What's the third A? Athletic. I don't know. Association. Yeah. Well, I haven't fucking brain fart over here. But yes, slab. Give me one of those slabs, man. And folks, if you don't know, Mike does some of the tables they do. Once again, throw that website out there.
Yeah, LiveEdgeSlabs.com, LiveEdgeSlabs LLC on Facebook and Insta. You got to check those things out. We'll put Mel Gibson from The Patriot right on there. Just to say, we still support the Colonial, man. We're not going. I'm the Gulf Coast Guru, and I'm not going to call it the Coastal. That should tell you. What's up, man. We don't acknowledge that. It's fake news.
That is fake news, man. Look, that's just bullshit. It's like, come on. It's like I don't know. Don't get me started because I'll do an hour-long episode on how ridiculous our fucking society is right now.
Yeah, we got 45 teams to get through in this conference.
Yeah, can we talk about that for a second? 15, but there's a 16th member starting next year in the Bryant Bulldogs. Woo! The CAA. Look, I enjoy I grew up watching CAA football some, and damn, we're going to 16. I mean, are you even in the same conference? Are you even? This is not like the FBS. You have 11 game seasons. So 16 teams, 11 game seasons. So that's not even including the non-con. Like that, you have 5 more teams than there are games on your schedule. It's wild. It's absolutely wild.
I mean, I assume they got to be going to divisions, right? I haven't heard, but I would think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Damn near pods at this point.
Well, that's the thing. Do you go to divisions because you have a playoff system, so you wouldn't have a championship game necessarily? I don't know. It makes it very interesting. So I don't know. It's just crazy. So hey, that one shout out to 3802. That would there we go. 3802 is great. Let's go. And yes, the Washington Redskins are coming back as they should. And William and Mary Tribe. Let's go there with that. Look, it's nice to honor the history of Native Americans, and I completely agree. You know, I'll throw that out there. I think it's ridiculous that we change the names of those. To me, do you want to forget them more in the history, or do you want to remember them? You know what I mean? So, and people don't know that the word Oklahoma actually means Redskins. So when you're saying Oklahoma Sooners,
you just got a whole state erase, dude.
just throwing that out there, folks. All right, let's all not be fucking stupid. All right, dude. So doing the exercise here, 15 teams, ranking 15 teams. We knew this episode would be quite long, so we just got to jump into it. Who'd you have ranked at number 15th?
Yeah, let's jump in. Let's go.
Did I say who'd you have ranked at number 15th? Yeah, I guess that counts, right? But yeah, did you have fun with the exercise with 15 teams? Because we've never broke down a conference this big.
Man, I was grinding all week. My girlfriend was very neglected, just sitting there put on like reruns of Game of Thrones, and like, hey, watch this. Like I gave her the iPad, like get busy, go ahead. And I'm just down here like, okay, I'm grinding. Yeah, it was a lot of work. It took a few days, but I mean. Fun conference, very interesting. My who I had coming in at 15th, whatever you want to say, the Hampton Pirates. So that's where I'm at.
Interesting. So I did not, but that's one thing I want to highlight real quick before we talk about the Hampton Pirates is that I had this conference pretty fucking wide open. And now I truly believe there are tiers, but like to me, the top 10, like there's a 10 out of the 15 schools. I actually think it could get a little tricky. I know we probably have, and that's another thing. You have to pay attention to the schedule. When you have that many teams, you got to say who is not getting who and really try to break it down from there. It doesn't necessarily mean that the best team is going to win the CAA. So anyway, I did not have Hampton dead last, but I am very intrigued to see what did you make of the Pirates here? Obviously, I know they've been trending downhill. I feel like if you look at Robert Prunty's, this is his 5th year at Hampton. He's 21-23 at all time, and each year's gotten worse. Now, some of that probably not his fault as they've jumped to the CAA, to a tougher conference. But talk to me, because they got a little quarterback battle we got to figure out, right?
Yeah, I mean, so you hit the nail on the head with my first issue with this team. Prunty comes in 2018. That's the only winning season he's had at Hampton. So that's a problem right off the bat. Relatively new team. I mean, not even relatively. It's a pretty new team to the CAA here. So they're getting into the stiff competition here. They got to, jump out of the MEAC and start getting their feet wet here with the CAA. Now you got the quarterback competition you mentioned. Malcolm Mays does return. He started a lot of games for him last year. 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. That's a big problem right there. You don't want to match touchdowns and interceptions. That's rough.
And I think there's a competition going on between Christopher Zealous and the Delaware State transfer Jared Lewis. Something to monitor here for the Pirates going into 2023 is, hey, who the hell is going to be starting for them? It's always good to know, but it's something we're gonna have to monitor right away when the season starts, is to see, hey, who is starting and also how's he playing. I guess in one way it's nice to have 3 backups, or three capable quarterbacks that have started games and played. But at the same time, what do they say? If you don't have one good quarterback, you don't have any. Talk to me, see, because I didn't have them dead last. But once again, I really feel like the top 10, maybe even 11, but top 10, you can have in a lot of different orders. 10 to or 11 to 15, I feel like they're all shitty. So you're trying to figure out like who is the worst team here. And we start the season off with the Brick City Classic as Hampton will be taking on Grambling. That'll be a game to watch. But you look back at Hampton's season a year ago, 4-7. They got destroyed. See, they were brand new to the CAA. They beat Albany in overtime, but other than that, they got their ass whooped by every other team in the CAA. So, I mean, Delaware beat them by 32, Maine by 7, and Maine wasn't very good last year. Richmond by 31, Villanova by 14, William and Mary just by 6, surprisingly. 14-point loss to Elon, 20-point loss to Towson. So you jumped up a level, and that's fair. We should expect regression when that happens. But the question is can you build on that? As I alluded to, they get Grambling out the gate, and then they have the Battle of the Bay, which is a great rivalry, Hampton and Norfolk State. And then they're at Howard at the Truth and Service Classic on September 16th in Aldi Field, where the XFL team plays. But I mean, I favor Howard. The other 2 are winnable. The other 2 are very winnable. What do you got them doing in the non-con?
Yeah, so I do have them dropping the game to Howard. I think that one's fairly clear cut, even though, I mean, it was a close game last year. The other 2, I believe we got some kind of bet brewing on the Grambling State game. I did go with Grambling State in that one. I think they have better talent. Norfolk, I did give them the win at home.
I have them beating Grambling. The Norfolk game to me is a true 50-50 game. I'll lean Hampton. I have no fucking idea on that game. That's a rivalry game. You throw it out the books. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely had a lot of questions about this team. And hold on, so let's go back to the schedule. They get the bye week on September 23rd to go into the season. Now here's what jumps out to me is right away. They get some of the better teams in the CAA. They're at Richmond, home to Campbell, at Monmouth, home to Delaware. Ouch. Doing them no favors on the schedule front. I mean, I think those are, when I said there's 10 teams that are on the upper 10 side, I would say those 4 are 4 of them. Then you get homecoming against North Carolina A&T, who's breaking in a brand new head coach in Vincent Brown. That's winnable. That is winnable. After that, they are at the Maine Black Bears, which I actually think might be winnable because I talk about a fire sale with their players leaving. Then home to William and Mary and at you know what? I think you have just convinced me on the schedule side of it.
The schedule's brutal, man.
This schedule is hard, even though I kind of did my order before really looking at the schedule. I was looking at the roster. So I had Hampton charting at the 13th best team, right? From a roster standpoint. I think you have just convinced me to switch them over to 15th because that schedule I think is harder than A&T's. So, there's that. 15th to me is the Hampton Pirates because that schedule. I mean, the non-con is okay, I guess, but you have to beat Norfolk State. If you don't beat those 2 teams out the gate, you could go winless. Because another thing is you're going up to Maine on November 4th. It's gonna be like that's cold as shit. So I don't know. I think you just sold me on that. So okay. So who I had at 15th was North Carolina A&T. Mainly Terrell Furman Jr., who works for us here at SGPN's an A&T grad, and he's like, dude, it ain't gonna be fun this year, right?
That's funny, man, because I knew that about Terrell Furman, and I was he's one of the personalities I've been listening to for a few years. I like him. He seems like a cool dude, and I was like,
Great guy. Yeah.
trying to find ways to like that team for him because I know he likes them. I was like, man, I don't want him to listen to this and be like, what the hell's going on, man? But I had him at 13, but just 2-9 for the season. Like it looks rough.
Dude, but this schedule's fucking insane too. It's making me regret. It's making me regret moving my order from 15th to 14th. All right, so I want to highlight what we have with A&T. Vincent Brown comes in. He's a first-year coach. He was recently with Mike Loxley. He's a Parcells guy. Coached with the Cowboys with Parcells. Played for Parcells with the New England Patriots. He's in Tecmo Bowl, so I mean we should give him points. That I don't like taking him 15th just because he's in Tecmo Bowl. That's why I'm moving him to 14th.
Cool nickname too, man. The Undertaker. Let's go.
Yeah, the Undertaker, man. But there's a lot of red flags here too. I mean, first year coach, so it's always you're changing the offensive philosophy, the defensive philosophy. You're changing all that. They also have no idea who's starting at quarterback. I'm seeing Zachary Jagerbaum could be one of them. Amari Hooker. They also have Eli Brickhandler. So, I mean, there's a lot of question marks regarding A&T. They also lose their starting running back to the Virginia Tech Hokies. That's not good. So I was, the offensive line actually one of the better parts of this team to me with Caesar Minaro and Tyreek Stewart, a couple guys on the O line that stood out to me. So maybe if they can get something going from the offensive line, you could build elsewhere on your team. But I worry about the skill position players. And then the defensive side of the ball, they have a few guys on the defensive side of the ball. Henry Daniel on the defensive line, Caleb Jones as well. I also liked in the secondary, Karan Prunty in the secondary. But yes, my point, my real hiccup here is that you're changing offense and defensive philosophies. And this is a guy who's never been a head coach. So to me, there's it might be a great hire down the road. And then when you look at the schedule, oh my God. So what nuggets did you have about A&T? And I'm curious because A&T plays at Hampton. So I guess that's another thing, man. I think Hampton could beat them at home and then have the tiebreaker, and you could have A&T finishing 15th. But talk to me about why you think Hampton could be that, or why A&T could be that team that's better than Hampton.
Yeah, I do actually have him dropping the Hampton game. I just have him getting one more conference win. Vincent Brown's he's brought in some talent. So you're doing the thing where you're getting a former NFL player with a name, and some recruits are coming in, some transfers are coming in. So there you go. You get a little talent peppered in there. The quarterback situation, like you said, kind of a mess. They pretty much traded Virginia Tech. Tutton, like you said, 1,300-yard back. He's gone, but they do bring in Kenji Christian. So that's a Virginia Tech transfer, former 3-star recruit coming in to run the ball. I have a little bit of faith in that. You mentioned Prunty. Another good DB they have is Aaron Harris. 4 passes defended, 3 interceptions. They also brought in a former 3-star. He actually played there last year, but 3-star ECU guy. Gotta love that. David Laney in the secondary. So the secondary was something that I found might be a little bit of a strong suit. 3-star Fresno State defensive lineman also transfers in this year, Austin Alexander. So there's some names coming in. I think they got a little bit of talent. I like this program. I think it's going to be a rough year. It just came down to some spots on the schedule. I gave them wins.
Yeah. Let's look at this schedule because, I mean, doing no favors. So week 1, they're at Trent Dilfer and UAB at Penetrope Stadium there in Birmingham. That's going to be a loss. Even though I've never seen Trent Dilfer coach a game in his life, I just think UAB's talent level is much, much higher. So 0-1. And then you have the rivalry game here against North Carolina Central. Now they're hosting North Carolina Central. By the way, I know CFB Campus Tour will be at this game. Shout out to that. If you're going to this game, hit them up. But Central's good. Central won the Celebration Bowl, and Trey Oliver's bunch with Davis Richard. They're really good. Like I would actually lay like double digits right now with Central, even though it's a rivalry game. I think I would lay like 10. against A&T. So I fully expect them to be 0-2 in the non-con. And then their other non-con game is later, but you wonder about the snowball effect here because week 3, they head to Road Stadium to take on Elon. Elon was a playoff team a year ago and a very good team. And I know they lose McKay, their quarterback, but they're still going to be good. They're going to be 0-3. Like, I feel very good about saying they will be 0-3 heading into that bye week, September 23rd. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much no question they're going to be 0-3 there heading into the bye.
See, and then comes the game at Dick Price Stadium in Norfolk, Virginia against Norfolk State. They're on the road. This is what I hate about this schedule. Their 2 winnable games to me are both on the road.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I feel like I don't know. I feel like I should move them back to 15th. But so at Norfolk State, then they're home to Villanova, who I expect to bounce back year from, at Delaware, home to Richmond, and then comes at Hampton. Now, then there is this one on November 4th, home to Towson, but I kind of expect Towson to have their shit together by November. I think if you want to get Towson, you probably want it in September. Then they're at Rhode Island and home to Campbell. First off, short of New Hampshire, they pretty much get every hard team in the CAA. New Hampshire, who do they miss out on? New Hampshire and Monmouth and Albany.
Yeah.
But damn, dude, there's a shot that they go winless to me. There's a fucking shot they go winless. Like, they better get that Norfolk game or that Hampton game because I don't think they're going to be very good this year. Talk to me about what you got them going on the schedule.
So I got them stealing a little game here. I mean, I don't have this team good. I have them 2-9. So there you go. I have them stealing a game against Villanova. I know, and I actually do expect Villanova to be good. I have them ranked pretty high in this conference. But Villanova is not a team that's loaded with great talent. They're just a really well-run program, a really well-coached program. That's the second leg of a back-to-back road trip after Albany and before Elon. So it's a little bit of a sandwich spot. It's a second leg of a back-to-back. So I did give them a surprise little upset victory over Villanova, and then I do have them taking the Towson game for homecoming. Another sandwich spot. I don't think the world of Towson this year. Sandwiched in between Delaware and then right before Villanova too. So a couple tough spots, but I haven't getting 2 wins. That's the best I could say for them, really. I'm not super stoked on this team. I got them at 13, but it's just, is what it is kind of.
I mean, I don't think they could beat Villanova. I mean, hey, we'll see. I think Nova's good. So, like, hey, we'll see, buddy. But look, I will say this. Maybe they get Norfolk. Maybe they get Hampton. Maybe you could talk me into Towson. But I don't know, man. This is a brutal fucking schedule. Okay, now I'm curious. Where did you have A&T?
I had A&T at 13, so one spot above where you were talking. 14.
Wow. So who did you have at 14?
Yeah, Maine. I'm not impressed with Maine at all.
Here's my thing with Maine. The Maine one is very interesting to me because obviously they got raided in the portal. Like I think out of any team in the entire CAA, they got hit the hardest with losing key players. Joe Fagnano goes to UConn. They're tight end. Like pretty much every good player on their offense, I feel like, bounced elsewhere. But I mean, this is a really good program. Not that long ago, they went to Mississippi State and won at Mississippi State. All right. I know that was in the Cosgrove era, but man, I mean, and now he's at Colby, coaching at the White Mules of Colby. But no, I mean, hear me out on this. Maine, by the way, I had him at 13, but Jordan Stevens was in year 1 last year, 2-9 in his first season. But damn, if they were not in some games, man. This is why I think they might be better than what you're thinking. They lose to Colgate by 3, right? They did beat Hampton. They did beat Monmouth. They lost to New Hampshire, who was an FCS playoff team, in overtime by 1. They lost to Albany by 2. Rhode Island at Rhode Island by 4. Right? Even Richmond by 10. Stony Brook by 1. I know they lost a lot of the production, but I kind of buy into the coach. That's not as bad of a first year as you think. You know what I mean? Like I know the record says 2-9, but damn, if you were not in what? So wait, out of 1-score games, you won 1-score game. You lost, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You went 1-5 in 1-score games. I don't think that'll be the case this year. I think they'll beat a couple more teams. Now let's talk about this team, because there's a lot of question marks to me on this team. And I understand why you probably took them there, but the Black Bears, first off, I'm a fan of the Black Bears. So, who's the quarterback? For Fagnano gone, it's either going to be Jack Kelly or Anthony Harris. We need to find, but I'll tell you this, man, I kind of like their running backs with Tavion Banks, John Gay, and they got a Colorado State transfer and Alex Barat coming in. And then the wideouts with Montego Moss and Trevor Ewing back. I kind of think the wideouts will be all right if they can find a quarterback position, but I would just think Jordan Stevens in his second year will know his team's footprint better. You know what I mean? He'll know the strengths and weaknesses and have a better identity on what he wants to do, even despite losing some key players in the portal. Talk to me about the Black Bears, man.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to get behind Jordan Stevens, and I like the Maine Black Bears program. I expected to rally behind this program a little more when I was breaking them down, but from what I was seeing, like every quarterback on the roster took spring game snaps. Derek Robertson was the name I saw that seemed like he was taking first string snaps. So that's interesting there. I don't know much about him. Tavion Banks, they are pretty excited about him. And you mentioned the Colorado State transfer. Here's my problem is you can go through and you say, it's year 2 with Jordan Stevens. That's great. But everybody that put up any kind of statistics with Jordan Stevens they're all gone. So It's his second year, but it's all of his players' first year essentially. So honestly, from a breaking down a roster, just unbiased looking at a roster, this is, I think, the least talented team I've seen in this conference. And I have them as the worst team. I just have them beating Hampton and getting one notch above them in the conference. That's it.
Interesting. And shout out to 3802. It says this is a perfect example of a negative about the NIL is that all these they're these bottom feeder teams. Maine was really the only one I came across that I really felt like their best players got taken. Mm-hmm. Maine, like in this conference, but hey, Maine has potential. There's history on the side of this program. They've been good, and they're the only show in town. To me, they remind me of Montana in the Northeast. And if they can just capitalize on that, they can really kill it. Shout out to the chat. I see Weehawk in there. He's a Western Carolina fan. Catamounts coming next. We're talking SoCon next, buddy. Not today, but I'm saying the next episode. I don't know, man. Let's talk about the schedule with the Black Bears, because I am intrigued. When you have that many close losses, I feel like you're probably going to be better. How about week 1? You want to talk about a team that got rated in the portal in the FBS? That's a lot like Maine. It's Florida International. Yeah. I'm not saying, but look, FIU got destroyed in the portal, much like Maine. This is like the portal destruction bowl, right? Now FIU does have a week 0 game, and that's really going to help. So that's why FIU is probably going to beat the shit out of Maine. So 0-1, right?
Agreed. Well, yeah. What was it, Bryant? They went to the wire with last year.
Yeah,
FIU
in overtime. Should have lost to Bryant.
Yeah,
terrible call. That was a terrible fucking call. Man, the schedule, Maine. What are you doing? Like, they're doing no favors to you. CAA. What did Maine do to you? Who is the Colonial Athletic Association president? Because fuck. Okay,
I think Jordan Stevens might have slept with his wife or something.
I'll tell you, man. The non-con is at FIU, then a back-to-back away to start your season at North Dakota State. Okay, they're definitely going 0-2. Then this is where you got to yell at the CAA commissioner, because what the fuck, man? Home to Rhode Island, who's very good. Should have made the FCS playoffs a year ago. I thought they got robbed. Kasim Hill is back in his 37th year of college football. He used to start at Maryland. That 0-3, and then they head to Williamsburg to take on arguably the best team in the conference, and William and Mary and Mike London. What the fuck, man? I mean, they're 0-4 for sure.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
I can't even paint them getting a win. Like I don't even paint a close game.
No.
With FIU getting the week 0 game, that would actually probably be the closest game. But then comes September 30th, and we need to circle this one because Stony Brook comes to Alphonse Stadium. This is one of the ones I think you want to circle this one. I see this as a winnable game. Now, I would still favor Stony Brook, especially after those 4 games. But it is winnable. But damn, if right the very next week, the CAA doing no favors. You're heading down to Richmond, Virginia to take on the Spiders. Then you're home to Long Island, which is the third non-con game. And Long Island's pretty good. That's still winnable. Then you're at Campbell, home to Albany, and then home to Hampton. Now I actually think they will beat Hampton because it's November 4th. That's going to be cold there. Then you get a bye week, and then you got the border battle as they head to Wildcat Stadium to take on New Hampshire. Best case scenario, and I do mean best case fucking scenario, 3 wins. How about yourself?
I got them at 1, brother. I mean, Stony Brook's definitely one you got to look at. I really think pretty highly of LIU. I mean, we already talked about them, and you know they could go either way. I didn't have them lighting the world on fire, but a lot of talent on that team. Stony Brook is the real big question mark. I mean, if you're talking this conference, especially Campbell, Stony Brook, I have no idea what's going on with those 2 programs. They both have a lot of talent. Stony Brook has 15 FBS transfers this year. So very interesting. I have this team getting 1 win over Hampton, and that's it.
Yeah, there's no way Hampton's winning that game. You telling me November 4th in fucking Maine? No. Yeah, I said best case scenario 3. I actually think I had them with 2 wins, but only 1 within conference. But that matters because I had Hampton behind them, and they don't play A&T. All right. So look, before we get to our next team, want to tell you fine folks out there that the FCS college football experience is brought to you by Game Time. Yes. Look, buying you're buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. I can tell you I was doing stand up in Missoula like 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. I don't know. Somewhere around there. I'm in Missoula, and every place I go into, I'm there for like 4 or 5. I was in Montana for like 4 or 5 days, but everyone was talking about the Montana Grizzlies football team, and they were very good. But it was just everywhere you go. So I was like, and then I looked up and I was like, oh shit, they are playing Eastern Washington, and that was like a top 10 matchup in the FCS. And I looked at a bunch of different apps to try to get tickets for it, and you couldn't find it. I was like searching, all the, and it was just terrible. It's like nothing was covering it. I'm talking to people. I ended up paying I paid like $500 for a ticket to go to a top 10. Now it was actually kind of worth it because the whole town it was a fucking awesome game. That stadium's awesome. But my point is buying tickets to your favorite event should not be that stressful. Because for a second I didn't think I was going to make it into the game. Game Time is fast and is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for sports, music, comedy, theater, anything near you essentially. With killer deals on last minute tickets and the best price guaranteed, you can stop stressing over the tickets. You can start getting hyped about the event you're going to be at essentially. Forget planning months in advance. What does that ever do? What does that ever do to you? All right. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the Game Time guarantee is fantastic. All right. It means you'll always get the best price. And how about this? If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Whoo. Gotta love that. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, create an account, redeem the code. It's CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we are back on the college football experience CAA 2023 season preview, and yeah, we've gone through our bottom 3. At least even though we didn't necessarily have the order, we had the same 3 teams penciled in as the worst 3 teams. Mm-hmm. So, sitting at number 12, I'm curious who the hell you have.
Yeah, team. This. If there's a team that I think I could And there's been a couple, but a team that I really think I might eat shit on, it could be this one. But I got Stony Brook, the Seawolves.
I do too. I do too.
Okay.
Look, Chuck Pryor's been there. This is his 18th year at Stony Brook. Gotta love that. I love these FCS. It reminds me of when I first got into college football before all this television money came in, and now you fire a coach after 3 years or 2 years sometimes. Love the fact 18th year at Stony Brook, 97, 91 all time. They bring in a Buffalo transfer at quarterback. Now I don't even know if he's going to start, but I love his name, Casey Case. Almost Casey Kasem.
The most boring guy of all time. Working retail jobs back in the day when I was younger. This is the top 100 with Casey Kasem.
Yeah, this is the top 15 CAA teams with Casey Case.
He'd paint you a picture of like the most gentile kitten or something and tell some story, and then hits you with a Maroon 5 song or something. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
But is he going to start over Darren Bryden? I don't know.
He took first team reps in the spring, so
Case did,
yeah.
Huh? You found that information. I like that information. I had a hard time really understanding who Stony Brook was too. It's tough to fade a coach that's been there that long, but I just think when I look at the overall talent, they didn't have that many. I know they brought in a shit ton of transfers.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't really find. Okay, I thought the linebacker Aiden Kaler was one guy that I circled as like, this dude's a stud, right? But besides that, I did not pencil in a bunch of players that I really came away. That doesn't mean they don't have guys. Once again, it's hard to find information, especially on a team that adds this many transfers. Taylor Balesta also was a name that I jotted down on the defensive line, who's pretty good. But I just didn't. I can totally understand. This is kind of a mystery team to me. So what did you jot down about the great Stony Brook Seawolves?
So same names you had, basically. I mean, I could hit you with a bunch of transfer names. There's a lot of 3-star talents coming in here. We don't know anything about them. That's really the problem. Just because the 3-star talents are coming in, these are guys that didn't necessarily play where they were before. So is it that they were misrecruited? Maybe somebody thought they were going to be better than they were, or were they in the wrong system? No idea. No way to tell. You see an FCS team bringing in 3-star talent from FBS, you automatically kind of assume, oh, that dude must be good. Who freaking knows, man? But, there's some names they brought in. BJ Williams from Wake Forest. He's a 3-star transfer coming in. One name, Ross Tallarico, running back, 602 yards, 4 touchdowns last year. He is back in addition to a couple transfers at that position there. You hit AJ Roberts, or I don't think you did. You hit Aiden Kaler. AJ Roberts is somebody that had 3.5 sacks last year. He's a linebacker, going to be playing alongside Kaler there. He's a former 3-star recruit from Pitt. So they do have names. 15 FBS transfers was the last number I saw. That's top 10 in all of FCS. So you got to assume this team is going to have some talent. It's just how does it come together on the field? That's why I might eat shit here, man. I have no idea.
Well, I can tell you one reason that I like them where I liked them. And like I said, I know we could eat shit on this too, but they don't have a bye week until November 18th, which is the final week of the season. So you basically have a gauntlet you have to run through. And I don't know what games they'd really be favored in. So they start out with a conference game too. I mean, that's always brutal when you just get thrown right into the conference game.
Two of them in a row.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, Thursday, August 31st, you better believe I'm going to have this on here in the studio because the Blue Hens of Delaware come in to Kenneth Laval Stadium in Stony Brook, New York, 0-1. And then, man, next Friday night, now I'm going to try. Yeah, I'll catch this right before I hop on a flight. They head to Kingston, Rhode Island to take on Rhode Island. So getting 2 of the better teams in the CAA to start your season, not fun. And then guess what? Week 3, you got to head to Jonesboro, Arkansas to take on Butch Jones and the Arkansas State Red Wolves in the Sun Belt. And then you come back home for the Richmond Spiders. Oh my gosh. They're 0-4, right?
Yeah. I mean, I will say, and don't get me wrong, I do have Delaware much higher in the conference. They are bringing in a lot of new pieces. So I guess if you're going to catch Delaware, hell, that's a good spot, I guess. But yeah, 0-4 is like 99% likely.
Well, that's what makes it interesting for that game at Maine. It makes me think Maine might be able to get that one because both are going through gauntlets, so they're both going to be in the same spot basically, and it's at Maine. And so so September 30th. So after the Richmond game, they're at Maine, and then they're at Morgan State, Hughes Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. Look, Morgan State, we weren't like super bullish on them, but we think they're getting better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, go listen to our MEAC preview, but I'll say they get one there. Then they're home to Fordham, who was an FCS playoff team a year ago. I know they lose Tim DeMorad, but I kind of think Fordham will still be good. Then they're home to New Hampshire for homecoming on October 21st. Then they're at Villanova. Then they're at Monmouth, and then they're home to Albany. You know what? You know what's brutal about this schedule? In conference, they don't get North Carolina A&T. They don't get Hampton. That's what you want on the schedule. They're not getting them. That is why I'm reluctant. And the fact they don't even get a bye week to reassess. Brutal. I completely agree. They are the 13th. Did we say 13th or 12th? 12th ranked team in the CAA. So, okay, we agreed there. What was your final record, by the way, for them?
I got them 2-9, 2-6 in conference.
You got to give them two conference wins there, huh?
Yeah. Stony Brook. No, you know what, dude? I did have them pulling the upset against Delaware. I must have wrote that wrong. They got one conference win.
Yeah, I was about to say. I was like, "Whoa, where's the second
I
one
just
there?"
looked at that and I was like, "Wait a minute, hold on." No, they're gonna get the Maine or Morgan State game and maybe one other, but yeah, not a good team.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Maybe Maine or Morgan State. That stretch is what you got to circle. If you're a Stony Brook fan, you're saying, "Fuck." And both are on the road too. They're your two most winnable games
last year, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, now okay, let's jump back to it because I'm curious who you have at 11th. This is one where I feel like I really could eat shit. Who do you have at 11th?
Huh. Well, I'm curious to see who you got now. I have Towson.
Me too. Okay. Like I said, I think 11 to 15 was pretty clear cut. I can tell you this. Okay. So Towson goes out and hires Pete Shinnick, who comes in from West Florida, where he was nasty. He was nasty at West Florida. Go look at his records. Also, he played for the Colorado Buffaloes national championship team. So, I'm kind of bullish on Pete Shinnick, but no, honestly, like I really believe you go look at his track record, his past stops. Azusa Pacific, I think, was one. He's been a winner everywhere he's gone. So I actually you have the portal. They're a mystery team to me, but if there's a guy that can come in there and get it done, perhaps now I wonder who starts at quarterback. They have a Maryland transfer in Zach Jackson. They have a Liberty transfer in Sean Brown. They also have Nathan Kent and Scott Smith back. This is why, to me, it was very hard to gather information on the Towson Tigers. But yeah, I feel like this is one that I could be even like. I know we just said that Stony Brook's a mystery team. This is more of a mystery team to me because I actually see some guys that I like on this roster. When you look at Towson, like I jotted down more guys that I thought like okay, like DeKendall James at the wide receiver spot. I'm like, okay, he's a stud. I like that. And then, really the defensive side of the ball had a bunch of guys that I noted down. Jesus Gibbs on the defensive line. Then I wrote down Mason Woods in the linebacking core. Very good. They have a few guys on the defensive side of the ball that stood out to me. So I actually think the defense, I feel like there's more talent for him to come in. Now, obviously there's a shit ton of question marks. How fast can he get it going? He's a brand new coach. They're changing offensive philosophies. They're changing defensive philosophies. Their schedule, I would also argue, is a little bit easier than Stony Brook's. So talk to me about Towson and why could we be really wrong about this one?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, it was the same thought process for me on why I'm kind of questioning him. New coach. I had the same notes on you too. I'm very confident in this hire with the coach. I mean, he's won at every level he's been at, and he's won big. I mean, he's won a D2 national championship just right off the bat, with West Florida.
And I don't mean to cut you off because I want to hear your analysis, but like they weren't that bad last year. Like you go back and look, and they won at Monmouth. They beat the shit out of Villanova, 27-3. They beat Hampton 27-7. They had some blowout wins. So I kind of think they're in a better spot. But anyway, continue on what you were going to say. I'm sorry.
No, so the quarterback, that's kind of the big question, right? I was seeing Sean Brown seems to be the guy that's kind of fitting the mold the most. He's the Liberty transfer, so there you go on that. Offensively, I'm not seeing any names jumping off the page that really produced huge. It's just there's guys that came back. Sam Reynolds, that's a name to watch at wide receiver. I wrote down in addition to Kendall James, who you mentioned. He's a former 3-star recruit from South Carolina. Malik Jackson, former 3-star recruit from Maryland. A couple Maryland guys popping up. So coming in state down to the FCS level. Gotta love that. Robert Javier, a defensive back. This guy had 11 passes defended, 2 interceptions, 2 sacks, ball hawk all around the field. I like that. So there's names here. There's questions at the quarterback, questions with the first-time head coach. Tough to gauge, but this team has potential.
Yeah. No, this one could be the one that we're like, I highly doubt Stony Brook ends up in the top 10, right? Mm-hmm. In the CAA. But this one I could totally see like them finishing 4th, 5th, 6th, something like that. The non-con, it's tough. They go at Maryland to open the season. That's Mike Loxley's alma mater. They're going to get their ass whooped against Maryland. But then opportunity comes to me like on the schedule. So week 2, they take on Monmouth at Johnny Unitas Stadium. We saw this a season ago, right? They got the best of Monmouth. So like, I get it. I'm going to circle this one as a huge game on the season that it wouldn't shock me if they got it done. Did you have Monmouth winning this one?
No, I got Towson pulling the upset here. Actually, I got them getting the win.
See, because then that makes it very interesting because they get Morgan State next, and I favor them to beat Morgan State. So that would be 2-1. And can you build on that momentum because you're hosting Norfolk State? Now I do expect Norfolk State to be better this year, but I still think that's a very winnable game. They can certainly go 3-1 here.
I got them going 2-2 out of the gate. So I do have them dropping the Morgan State, but
no, I did too, but it wouldn't shock me. It would not shock me if they're 3-1. So if that happens, then they're at New Hampshire. They're home to Albany. I think they're capable of getting Albany too, but because it's homecoming, it's in Towson. I got them dropping both those though. You?
I got them beating Albany. Actually, I have the homecoming game. I like this Albany team. I think they're a pretty good team. Sandwiched right in between Villanova and New Hampshire though for Albany. Tough little spot. So homecoming for the Tigers. I got them getting it.
Then you get the bye week on October 14th, and they're going to need this bye week because second half of the schedule. Bring your helmet. At William and Mary, then home to Delaware, then at A&T, North Carolina A&T, which I think they will win. Then at Villanova, which I think Nova gets revenge, and then home to Rhode Island. So I have this team as a 3 to 4 win team. If I had to set the over under, it would be like 3.5 wins. But I could be very wrong about this team. And you never know. If you start out 3-1, you never know what if your team starts believing, you never know. So what'd you have them going in the second half of that stretch?
Yeah, so I got them going just getting 1 win there in the second half of that stretch. I actually have them upsetting Rhode Island at home at the end of the year. I know the A&T game seems like the obvious choice, but you're going to take some body blows when you play William and Mary, when you play Delaware. That A&T game, little tricky on the road, Villanova on deck. So I got them getting 1 win at the end. I got them going 4-7.
4-7. Yeah. Like I said, I have it between 3 and 4. I put 3-8, but I thought 4-7 is certainly possible. All right. Look, before we get to the next team, I want to tell you that the college football experience is brought to you by the Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon. Yes, sign up for the Patreon to get access to exclusive contests, including the NFL win totals contest with $1,000 first place prize. Look, besides the season-long contest, we also have weekly contests just for the patrons, plus a monthly SGP Stories podcast, completely ad-free and full of behind-the-scenes stories from SGPN. There's even a Discord channel just for the patrons. Only you can prevent corporate gambling, so do your part and sign up today. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. All right, we are back on the college football experience, the FCS college football experience, because people are asking me about Boston College in there. Look, shout out to we tackled that on the college football experience. We have a Boston College preview out. We also have an ACC preview out, brother. So appreciate you hopping in the chat, but right now we got to hammer home this this CAA talk, and maybe you're saying Boston College will be in the CAA in a couple of years. That's certainly possible too. We jump on over.
I think they might struggle with Holy Cross. How about that?
Oh yeah. Watch out. Watch out. Watch out. At number 10. I had a clear-cut 10th team, but I still thought historically they've been pretty good. So maybe I'm off on this. But who did you have at 10th?
I'm very interested who you have then. I have a team that is another team that's a complete mystery to me. This could be one of the better teams in the conference. I have Campbell fighting Camels. Really tough to know what's going on with this team. Tons of talent, but haven't been good. So let's see.
Wow. So I did not. I had the Monmouth Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you want to tackle first? Campbell or because I have Campbell a lot higher. But
a lot higher, huh?
I do have them a lot higher because I just think you're those big time recruits are growing up. And
let's do Monmouth then, because I actually have Monmouth coming in at 9. So next.
Well, first off, Kevin Callahan's entering his 30th year. Holy shit. It's fantastic. I love it. He's 178 and 135 at Monmouth. But as I said at the beginning of this episode, to me, the top 10 teams in the CAA wouldn't shock me if any of the 10 won the championship, right? Or, won the regular season championship, because I believe there is a big gap between 1 and 10 and 11 and 15, right? But Monmouth, they lost Tony Muskett to UVA. Their starting quarterback is now starting at UVA. Now they did, have Enzo Arjona start started a game or two a season ago. But they also brought in Marquez McCray from Sacred Heart. Interesting there. Now their running back's a stud in Jaden Sheridan. I've watched this guy over the years since the spring season. He's a fucking stud.
Yep.
And that's got me a little bit of like, Colby, you sure you want to pick them 10th, especially knowing you have a fucking legendary coach? I also like Demir Miller at the wide receiver spot and Asante Kearney. The main question is can they get them the ball? Because you have very inexperienced quarterback play to me. But it's going to be fascinating to watch, and it's hard to fade a coach that's been there 30 years because he's probably forgotten more about football than I've ever known in my life. But there's a lot of guys on this team that, to me, they have guys, that there's a gap between 11 and 10. Like when I look and see Mike Reed on the defensive side of the ball for the Hawks, Tyrese Wright, if anything, the secondary really jumped out to me as something that's very good. Also Jake Brown at the linebacker spot. So I went with Monmouth at 10th just because of the uncertainties at the quarterback position. I know they avoid Delaware and Villanova, which is good, but they also don't play Maine and North Carolina A&T, which I noted. So talk to me about what you had for the Fighting Hawks here.
Yeah, I mean, you again hit a lot of the points, but you're putting this team on the outside, and so did I. Got them at 9, and we're looking at a team that has maybe the best player, the best offensive player in the entire conference is sitting right there. So that really tells you where the Colonial is at as a conference. I mean, this is dangerous to pick this. I liked bringing in Marquez McCray. So you got, you mentioned the two quarterbacks. You got one that's been with the system and one that's got some decent, this guy McCray almost had 2,000 yards last year. He could run a little bit. One thing I did note, you did lose Owen Wright at the running back position. That guy, one of the weirdest stat lines I've ever seen. I had to double check it because it makes no sense. He had less than 300 yards rushing, but he had 16 touchdowns. So rushing touchdowns.
It's like fucking Brad Baxter 2.0.
Yeah, I don't know. You just put the fridge in at the 1, I guess. I don't know, had to be that kind of situation. I didn't see him play. They did bring in a Harvard transfer, Son Nato. I don't really know how to pronounce that. I'm just guessing, but he did get some burn for Harvard. A little bit of backup there because they did also lose Jaron Fari to Eastern Illinois. So,
he's a stud. He's a stud too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
the defense team brings back everything, man. They lost like one big name on defense.
Dude,
so
that's why they
watch too.
If they would have brought back Tony Muskett, who bounced out to Virginia at quarterback, I actually think this team could have won the CAA. That's how
you see him too. He's actually in danger of not getting the starting job in Virginia, so he should have stayed. I
mean, you look at last season, and they had a 3-point loss to a Fordham team that made the playoffs, a 10-point loss to New Hampshire at New Hampshire. And that was week 1 to a team that made the playoffs. Those are 2 playoff teams. Then you look, they lost in 7 overtimes to Rhode Island, right? Once again, a team that should have been in the FCS playoffs. A 4-point loss to Towson. They really only got their ass whooped 1 game, and that was at Delaware. This team's probably a lot better than what we think. But to me, when you lose Muskett, who's been a starter there for a few years, I got a lot of question marks. I need to see it. I could be really wrong. Like I said, there's a big gap between 1-10 and 11-15 to me. Mm-hmm. I had Monmouth 10th. Where'd you have Monmouth?
I had Monmouth at 9th, so I wasn't far off of you.
Okay, let's look at this schedule because they open up the season on the road at Florida Atlantic, Tom Herman, Casey Thompson, and then at Towson. The Towson game's winnable, and it's a big one. Then they're home to the Campbell Camels, who you had 10th, so that's certainly winnable in your eyes. Mm-hmm. I would say I favor Campbell, but I'm saying like it wouldn't shock me if they beat Campbell. Then they're at Lafayette, which I actually favor Monmouth to win. Home to Lehigh, I favor Monmouth to win. The schedule does have some nice breaks, and then you get a bye, and then you're home to Hampton. Okay, I like that. So, I mean, honestly, your first 6 games, it would not shock me. You're capable of going 5-1. I got them going 3-3, maybe 4-2.
Yeah, I got them getting 3 of those first in the Hampton game. I got them going out 4-2 in the first 6.
Yeah, I got them 3-3, but I can see 4-2. Then they're at Elon. I mean, that's I favor Elon, but not by much. Then they're at William and Mary. Then they're home to Stony Brook, home to New Hampshire, and at Albany. I mean, yeah, I got this team. I got this team winning about 5 games, 5-6. That's what they were a year ago. Wouldn't shock me if they're 5-6 again, or even 6-5. What's your final record for the Hawks?
Yeah, I got them 6-5 there, so that's kind of where I'm seeing them. I got a big lump of about 4 teams here going 4-4 in conference, so they're right there for me in this mix.
Okay, so at number 9. Oh, actually, let's talk Campbell then, because I have Campbell number 5.
Oof. Okay.
And the logic on Campbell to me is it's another year of them growing up. I know they had lost a ton on the defensive side of the ball, right? Mm-hmm. And that's fair, but they've been building. They've had like 2 or 3 great recruiting classes in a row, and I really like some of the transfers they brought in. So I just feel like from a talent perspective, another thing is if you go look at Campbell's season last year, pull up Campbell's season from last year, they were certainly better than their record. They just lost a bunch of close games. And to me, that's a sign of youth, in my opinion, is like you just don't know how to win and close out close games. You look at what they did. First off, they beat North Carolina Central, who won the Celebration Bowl, and they beat them by 30, right?
They beat the hell out of them.
They kept it within 1 score within Jackson State, Travis Hunter and everybody lost by 8 at Jackson State. They did somehow lose to North Carolina A&T by 7, which is just, I don't know how that happened. They kept it within 6 at Bryant. Gardner-Webb, FCS playoff team, 7-point game. So they were there. The only games they truly got their ass whooped in was like ECU and then the William and Mary game week 2. I think this team is growing up in front of our eyes though. So and then you tell me that Hajj Malik Williams, now I know they have a shit ton of quarterbacks that have starts. So it's hard to figure out. I would assume, because I've watched Hajj Malik Williams over the years, and I think he's their best chance at winning. But I don't know. They have a ton of starters. That they have 4 quarterbacks that have started college football games. So I like that experience. Now, could they be starting the wrong quarterback? 100%. That's a concern. But another thing is the running back spot with Michael Jamerson, Naquari Rogers, McDowell, all three back. I like the running back room here. Then you look elsewhere at some of the positions that they have that really have guys that jump out. Even a couple guys on the offensive line, Tyler McClellan, Mike Edwards. I think they have a decent offensive line. Once again, hopefully it's Haj Malik Williams because I think he could be the difference maker for them. On the defensive side of the ball, they lost a shit ton. CJ Tillman comes back at the linebacker spot, but this is where I'm banking on them to have the transfers and the recruits that are they've been 3 years now, 2-3 years of recruiting at a really high level. Those guys can just step up. And I think two top 70, including the FBS, 2 top 70 recruiting classes. That's got to show up at some point. So that's why I'm high on Campbell. Tell me why you are not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm not high on them. I'm extremely, extremely interested to watch this team this year. I mean, you're talking top 70 recruiting classes. You're talking G5 level. You're talking,
P5 level sometimes. Like Boston, I bet you like, I mean, maybe Boston College because Hafley had a good year, but like, I would like to see Wake Forest's rankings in the recruit, and they win like not. So like, you definitely are out recruiting the shitty end of the Power Five,
and probably honestly really close to out recruiting them because they might give Boston College the number if you're looking on 24/7, one of the most popular. They might put Boston College up in the top 50. It's kind of skewed. Sometimes they give those guys a couple of extra stars just to beef that up a bit. So
yeah. So I mean, I think this team could be really good. They got to win those close games, but anyone else? It's got to be Haj Malik Williams, right?
I think so. I mean, he's your dual threat quarterback that really gives you some electricity in the offense. So that's really interesting. Running backs, a lot of experience, nothing really popping off the page, but a ton of experience at the position. You got to love that. You platoon the backs. There you go. They did lose Bryant Barr, though. That was their leading rusher. So a little interesting there. You hit it. They brought back 3 or 4 names, though, that have a couple hundred yards or more. Julian Hill was one of the big names I noted that they did lose. He's a tight end. He's now playing with the Dolphins in the preseason right now. So they brought in a 3-star Virginia Tech transfer, Jared Gibble, try to fill that role. Let's see. But the name I'm really interested in, this guy was there last year. Ezariah Anderson, 3-star recruit for Iowa State a few years back. This guy's 6'5", 387 yards, 3 touchdowns last year. 6'5", though. You lose your star tight end. I'm thinking he might get a little more targets in the red zone there. Defense was what really worried me. I didn't see a ton of the names coming in on defense, so you're really going to be counting on those recruits. Not really the portal, but the recruits.
Can I talk for a second though on the portal gets? You're recruiting, so you have these guys that probably haven't had a lot of starts, but I think their talent level is up.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you touched on Lakeem Rudolph, right? The linebacker from Virginia Tech coming in.
I did not.
Okay, look what they did in the portal, man. Linebacker Lakeem Rudolph comes in from Virginia Tech. Wide receiver from South Dakota State, who won a national championship a season ago. Tyler Feldkamp comes in from South Dakota State. NC State wide receiver Josiah Provilian comes in. LSU linebacker Antoine Sampa comes in from Campbell. UCLA offensive lineman Baraka Beckett comes in. Appalachian State safety Jonathan Streeter comes in. I mean, these are some big time gets, guys. Like this is what I mean of like, I just feel like this team is way more talented. Now, yes, if we're looking at returning production, I completely understand the argument, but we know they've been killing it on the recruiting trail. At what point do we start to see the recruiting / the portal have it pay off? And when you have a super experienced quarterback who was injured last year for a lot of games, I think you can win a lot more close games. It's my case there.
I completely agree with you, man. This one's dangerous. I'm the kind of person I got to see it happen on the field first. So, hey, maybe Mike Minter, maybe he's not a great coach. We got to find out.
That could be. But look,
you want to crown him? Crown him.
But hear me out here on this schedule too. And we're going to go game by game. But when I see North Carolina A&T on the schedule, my eyes light up. When I see Hampton on the schedule, my eyes light up. When I see Maine on the schedule, my eyes light up. And when I see the Citadel, who can no longer cut block, my eyes light up. So let's talk about this, because week 1, Thursday night, I said this is a banger. I think this might be the best FCS game for week 1. Campbell is hosting William and Mary. They need to win this fucking game. If they win this game, William and Mary FCS playoff team a year ago. Most publications I see, they have William and Mary being the top team in the CAA. They return a ton, but Campbell, from a talent perspective, should be on the same level as William and Mary, if not better. If they can win that game, you want to talk about kickstarting your season. You'll have that tiebreaker. Now, like I said, I know they're going to be dogs in that game, so we can even say, but let's roll with me here. If they win that game, then they're at the Citadel. I think they're going to beat the Citadel because these rules are going to really hamper the Citadel. 2-0. Then they head to Monmouth, who we have Campbell ranked ahead of Monmouth, or no, you had Monmouth one spot ahead, but it's kind of a 50-50 game. Well, I think the uncertainty at quarterback for Monmouth is all the difference. I like Campbell to get that. Then they're home to Elon. Now, Elon's a very good opponent, right? I don't know. But then after that, Central, they beat North Carolina Central bad a year ago. Now, this time they do have to go to Durham. I like Central's roster, but if they beat them that bad a year ago, it makes me think they can get them again. And then I kind of like the back end of the schedule. Talk to me about what do you have them going at the bye week, essentially? Like, because I can really see a great season here. What do you have? Like, I think if they get William and Mary, I only think they're going to have one loss at the bye.
Yeah, so I have them dropping the Monmouth game. I think Monmouth has a lot coming back on defense, and I think they're going to play them tough. Second leg of a back-to-back after playing whatever version. I mean, Citadel is still going triple option. It's just kind of where you're talking like Air Force, Navy style, where they're going to be passing more, not talking Army style where they're going like full shotgun and stuff like that. So you're still going to have a physical game there, and then you go on the second leg of the back-to-back. You play Monmouth, ton of talent coming back on defense. I think they do drop that one. I'm really interested. When you look at this conference, you see it's something very interesting throughout the whole bottom to like middle of the conference. You see a lot of like transfers, 3-star guys coming in from this school, that school. When you look at William and Mary and you look at New Hampshire specifically, or the two I could think of off the top of my head, you don't see that at all. These are blue blood schools. So that is going to tell us so much about the season. But long story short, I got them beating Citadel. I got them beating Elon. I have North Carolina Central getting a little bit of revenge. I have them beating Hampton. So going into the bye, I have them at 3-3.
See, I would have them at 4-2 because I have them losing to William and Mary. But if they were to get that William and Mary game, which you could prep for one fucking month, come on. So then after the bye week, though, they're home to Maine, which I think is a win. They're at Richmond. Richmond, even though I know the culture is strong, they're always good. They lost a shit ton. Reese Yadinsky's gone. I just think there's a lot of question marks with Richmond. So I think that is a winnable game. Now, obviously at North Carolina, they're going to lose. But then home to Delaware, you're hosting Delaware. It's kind of a 50-50 game. And then I got you beating A&T. This is what I love about the schedule here, man, is they don't get New Hampshire, right? They get William and Mary in Delaware, which that sucks. But they're at home in Bowie's Creek. So the road spots are not that daunting to me, especially in conference. You're at Monmouth, you're at Hampton, you're at Richmond, and you're at A&T. I think they can go 3-1 on the road. Now, can they win at home is the big X factor for this season. I can't wait to watch that Thursday night game. All in all, I think this team, they could win the CAA. Like, they're that talented. And if they can get quarterback play. So I had them 5th. I went and put them at 5th because of the uncertainties. But damn, if I don't think this is arguably the most talented roster in the CAA.
Yeah, I mean, hands down. I mean, I had them go 5-6, 4-4. I definitely had in my head the whole time. I mean, this is one of the most talented teams. So I'm not a person that just jumps on, and not that you are either, but seeing the flashy names come in, the recruiting, I got to see it on the field. I got to see Mike Minter go out there and do it. So a lot of questions. I know there's wiggle room for me to be wrong on that one. And you really, really got to love one thing you got going for you picking this team so high. We both agreed on the 3 worst teams on this conference, and they got all 3 of them. You have to love that.
Yeah, and mix in the Citadel, which which pains me because I want the Citadel to win the fucking national championship because I love them. But all right, well, look. So at I'm curious then. So wait, who did you have at 9? You had Campbell, right?
I had Monmouth at 9.
You had Campbell at 10.
Yep.
Monmouth at 9.
Correct.
At 9 for me. And this is I don't feel good about this one. And we're gonna see him week 0. I had Albany, but I think they could be good. I think they could, like, dude, I went through and I was like, this team could be really good. Reese Poffenberger is a baller at the quarterback spot. Kavon Chambers is back at running back. The receivers Hicks and Alexander are very good. Julian Hicks and Roy Alexander. I actually really struggled. Like, to me, the top 10 teams in this conference, like you said, there's William and Mary and there's New Hampshire that seem to kind of have an edge on everybody else. But man, from 3 to 10, it's razor thin. Okay. I'm curious. Where did you have Albany?
So I had Albany at 7.
Okay. We're not that far off then. But once again, I feel like this is a team that I could eat shit with. You know what I mean? Like Poffenberger is the former quarterback player of the year. And so you're telling me they're going to have arguably the best quarterback. They have some really good wideouts, a talented running back. The offensive line, seems to be in decent shape. I don't know. I guess I struggled on the defensive side of the ball, but even their D line jumped out to me with Anton Junkaj, AJ Simon, and Elijah Hills on the defensive line. I mean, I didn't really find much in the secondary that got me excited, but I'm saying line of scrimmage seems all right. Talk to me about Reese Poffenberger, NC Nick's boy. And what I love about them is we get them next week, man. Week 0. Remember, next week we're gonna be picking some games.
Hell yeah.
And I actually kind of favor them in that game. But talk to me about Albany and what you saw from them.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team, the reason I kind of pumped the brakes and put them at 7 is, last year 3-8. So kind of questionable there, but they got a good coach. They got the quarterback. The offense, I think there's no questions on offense. You hit all the names. They also brought in a former Utah walk-on at running back, Faisal Aiden. So interesting to see what happens there with a little bit of an opening with running back Todd Sibley being gone, 990 yards, 10 touchdowns last year. So that's the one spot they really got to make up for. Also tight end Thomas Greeny. He's now playing with the Browns in the preseason, 693 yards, 9 touchdowns. So a couple of names you got to make up for, but most of it comes back starting with Poffenberger. One name I did see in the secondary, Isaac Duffy. He does return as well. 8 passes defended, 2 interceptions. They lost a couple names. Jackson Ambush, great name for a linebacker.
Great name.
He transfers over to go with Tom Herman at FAU. AJ Missler graduates. That was their number 3 tackler. And then safety Samaj Brown graduates as well. They do bring in a Temple transfer, 3-star safety Deshaun Winston. So the names are there. Little concerned about the defense. I think this offense got popped. Really weird. They play 12 games. I had to count it like 6 times.
Well, that's because they played at Hawaii. When you do that, there's a waiver. Yeah. There's a waiver. Look, they had 5 one-score losses a season ago. So if once again, almost like in Campbell fashion, if they can find out how to win those close games, the Great Danes might be having a great year. And I love that name, the Great Danes.
Great mascot, man. Great mascot.
Yes, absolutely fantastic. Let's talk about this schedule because, dude, they got a nice schedule. They got a nice schedule here. One thing that jumps out to me, they don't have Delaware. They don't have Campbell. Right? They don't have no, they do have William and Mary. Okay. Yeah. But out the gate, week 0, Bob Ford Field, Flow Sports. Folks, go subscribe to that because next week we got football Florida coming to Bob Ford Field. Northeast football is back, baby. I'm favoring Albany to win. Now, do I think this will be a 1-score game? I do. But I favor Albany to beat Fordham. How about yourself?
Buddy, this is going to be a shootout. It was a shootout last year, 48-45. I think they get it done, though. I got the Great Danes getting this game.
Let's go. Week 2, they head to Huntington, West Virginia, take on Marshall. That's not going to be fun. but you do get a week 0 game in there. Marshall does not have a week 0 game. That helps a little bit. You're still going to lose because Rasheen Ali is really fucking good, and your run defense is probably going to be terrible against Marshall's offensive line. But at least you get the week 0 game, so maybe your chances at an upset increase a little bit. Then after that, they head to the Ching Complex in Hawaii. Dude, it wouldn't shock me. I mean, Hawaii, I was impressed with Timmy Chang's development in year 1. But if Poffenberger's throwing the ball around, wouldn't shock me if Albany beat Hawaii. It's a far fucking trip though. I'll favor Hawaii. They played Duquesne last year. 10-point game with Duquesne. Albany is a lot better than Duquesne in my opinion. So I think this could be a game on the island, but I was impressed with Timmy Chang, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They got a lot better as the season went along. I'll favor Hawaii and say 1-2 at the bye week on September 16th. How about yourself?
Yeah, Hawaii was one, this Albany Hawaii game. It was one that I really thought about for the FCS versus FBS upsets that could happen. My problem with it is you're on the road back to back. You're going to go from Albany, go ahead and travel down to West Virginia and play Marshall, and then take a trip back to Albany only to fly out there all the way to Hawaii. That's a long trip. So I got them starting out 1-2 with a win over Fordham.
Then they head to Morgan State, win. Then they're home to Villanova. I think I might favor Villanova, but it's possible. That's like a 50-50 game. Then they're at Towson, followed by at New Hampshire. Now I do think they will lose to New Hampshire. Then they're home to Rhode Island. I like getting Villanova and Rhode Island at home. Then they're at Maine, and then they're hosting William and Mary. All their toughest games, with the exception of the New Hampshire game, within conference, are at home. And then they're at Stony Brook and home to Monmouth. I mean, look, I think I could be really wrong with this team, but I have them 9th. And I think they probably have a 6-5 record personally, but I could be way the fuck off because I see opportunity on this schedule. What's your final record here?
Final record, I got them going 6-6, 4-4 in conference. And I do have them pulling off an upset against William and Mary. So
yeah, I forgot
I'm
to
be watching that game.
I forgot the 12th game. I'll go 6-6. I'll meet you halfway there. All right. Folks, hang on. I'm going to stick around. If you're watching on YouTube, you're fine. But on podcast form, I'm going to jump over to the B side. And we're back on the FCS college football experience. And look, we previewed the first 8 teams in the CAA on side A of the podcast, part 1. Go listen to that. This is part 2. We just got done. So the teams we previewed on the first side were North Carolina A&T, Hampton, the Maine Black Bears, the Campbell Camels, the Towson Tigers, the Stony Brook Seawolves, the Albany Great Danes, and the Monmouth Hawks. So now we jump over to well, I'm curious, I guess, who did you have then at 8?
I had Elon. That was where I had them falling.
I had Richmond. Look, I don't like all this is like a game difference. You realize like that's how thin I have this. When I went through, okay, let's talk about Elon. Tony Trisciani. No relation to Chris Corciani, but he's entering year 5 at Elon, 20-20 all time. See, what got me was I like the Matthew Downing get at quarterback. This is a guy that started at La Tech a couple games. They still have Hampton at the running back spot, Jalen Hampton. I just think you're not dropping off. I mean, McKay was a big loss, but I think Downing might be an upgrade. Now he probably doesn't offer the running ability, but that had Jalen Hampton and him back there in the backfield. You're just like, well, okay, they're pretty solid there. Then you look elsewhere, kind of like what I saw on the offensive line. Jabril Williams is back on the offensive line. He's good. And I just feel like the defensive side of the ball is not in bad shape either. Like Marvin Pearson, the third on the defensive line, also Kazim Moore. So they got 2 guys on the D line that stood out to me. Bo Sanders in the secondary, also Jaden Dennis. I think the defense is in better shape than probably the offense. I don't know. I feel like they're a pretty complete team to me. Talk to me about your thoughts on the Phoenix. Will they rise again?
So I did like the Matthew Downing get. I was kind of surprised. A couple of the things I saw. I'm pretty sure Phil Steele's magazine being one of them. Not super high on it. Didn't seem like they even really knew if he was going to be the guy to get the call. So that kind of leave that up in the air. I assume it would be Downing, but a lot of uncertainty there. The rest of the offense I was fine with. See, kind of different than you. The defense was one of the things I was worried about. Linebackers, Marcus Hillman, 6 sacks, 74 tackles, 4 fumbles forced, gone. Jameer Malone, number 2 tackler, an interception, 3 fumbles forced, gone. Devontae Chandler, 1 sack, 2 fumbles forced, gone. So your whole linebacking crew, bunch of turnovers created there. All those guys gone. Safety Omar Rogers, 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles forced. Transfers to ECU. He's out.
Well,
DB
completely understandable.
Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of guys, a lot of names there heading out. So that was majorly concerning to me.
Well, I saw the linebacking core, but to me, if you tell me in 2023 college football, there's an area where I don't care if I had to choose an area to lose players, it would be the linebacking core. Secondary got guys, defensive linemen's got guys. So I kind of liked that. But let's talk a little bit about the Phoenix of Elon and their schedule, because now that did stand out to me. I thought it was a tough schedule. I thought it was maybe a tougher schedule, but I thought their team from a roster standpoint was better than some of the other teams. But the schedule is, I think, harder. I think it's one of the hardest schedules in the CAA. I think you can make an argument it's the hardest schedule in the CAA, and that includes them getting A&T and Hampton, 2 of the 3 that we want on the schedule. So they open things up Thursday, August 31st at Wake Forest and Dave Clawson. That's not good. That's not fun. They're going to lose, right? The very next week, they're at Gardner Webb. That's not fun. They might lose that one. I think this is I favor Gardner Webb. I like a field goal. I think it's a game though. Did you have them winning any of those?
No, I got them going 0-2 right out the rip.
I do too, but then I have them beating A&T at Rhodes Stadium in Elon. Then comes see the road spots are fucking absolute. Listen to the road schedule this year. At Wake Forest, at Gardner Webb, FCS playoff team, at Campbell, who is one of the most talented rosters in all of the FCS. At Villanova, who's kind of been a blue blood historically. Now they've struggled last year. Then at Delaware and at Richmond. So you're getting all of the name brands. Yes. So I got them losing to Campbell. I got them going 1-3 to start their season, and then they host William and Mary. Oh man, dude, they might fuck around and start off 1-5.
Yeah, I mean, I got them starting on 1-4 for sure. I do have them getting the win over NC Central, but that's a really, really tough game right there. So yeah, I got them 1-4, but then getting over NC.
And then they head to Villanova. I mean, give me 2 wins by the time October 21st comes around. Then they beat Monmouth to me. I'll give them 3 wins by the bye week.
Same here.
And then after the bye week, they're at Delaware. They're at Richmond. They're home to Hampton. I think they can beat Hampton. Maybe spring an upset on Richmond. I don't know, man. I wasn't high on. I mean, like I said, I had him 6th, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had him 6th. You had him what? Was it 8th?
I had him 8.
Once again, to me, like I have them beating Richmond. That was the difference in my analysis, but I think their team is talented. It's just that schedule, that road schedule is fucking daunting. So, okay, let's talk about who'd you have at 7 then? 7
was Albany for me. So we got that one.
So let's talk about the Richmond Spiders then, because Russ Huseman, year 7, 33-29. Udinsky's gone. Kyle Wickersham, Jackson Hardy, who's going to be the starting quarterback with the Spiders? And shout out to the chat. They're saying Richmond has great uniforms. They do. They fucking do. The Spiders, they're a team that I thought just got destroyed with players graduating or transferring. So Marlon Lewis is a guy I like on the defensive line. Tristan Wheeler's good at the linebacker spot. Aaron Banks. If anything, the defense is going to be in decent shape. It's the offensive side of the ball that I really, really worry about. But the defense got some guys. What do you make of the Spiders?
Yeah, so I'm kind of trusting the product I've seen recently, and we're going to get into the schedule. I like some things about the schedule that line up. I actually have Richmond at 4, so I have them a little higher there. What I really love that you touched on is the defense. I think the defense is really, really strong. Running back, they did lose Dykes. They have a lot coming back there. Savon Smith, Milan Howard, and Dante Black, who's a former 3-star UConn recruit, all coming back there. Lost some wide receivers, but you got a lot coming in there. Former 3-star Maryland recruit Nick DeGennaro. And also Isaiah Wilson transfers in from East Tennessee State University. He got some burn there last year. And then defense, you hit the names. There's a ton coming back on defense. They will miss Philip O'Connor, linebacker. He had 86 tackles, 3.5 sacks. Tyreek Funderburk, who went to App State. This guy was a monster. 9 passes defended, 4 interceptions, 2 fumbles forced. So they lost some on D, but they bring back a ton, and I really like what they pulled as far as a conference schedule here, and that's why I had them at 4.
Yeah. Shout out to Terrell Furman in the chat. We're live, buddy. We were just talking about you earlier in this episode, but yeah, and he says Aggie Pride. There we go. Subscribe to the NBA Gambling Podcast. Yeah, I mean, okay. The pedigree's there. The offensive side of the ball is question marks.
Mm-hmm.
The schedule, you're right. The schedule, like the first 5 weeks, home to Morgan State, at Michigan State. That's their only clear-cut loss. Then home to Delaware State, then at Stony Brook, then home to Hampton, and home to Maine. Mm-hmm. Whoo! They got. I mean, they're gonna be 4-2 or 5-1.
Yeah, I got a 5-1.
I think you might be right, but then the storm comes, man. The storm comes at Rhode Island, loss. At North Carolina A&T, win. Home to Campbell, I have that as a loss. Bye week, home to Elon, I have that as a loss. And then at William and Mary, I have that as a loss. But I don't know, man. This is tough. The beginning of the schedule, you're 100% right. But a lot of those are non-con games, like beating Morgan State and Delaware State. Those are 2 of your non-con games, so that is irrelevant to the race within the CAA. But yes, I do think they'll win those games.
Yeah, I mean, we agreed on our bottom 4 teams, the 2 of us. I mean, we're the 2 smartest FCS people in the world, and we agreed on the 4 bottom teams, right? So they play all 4 of them. Gotta love that.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree with you. They dropped the Rhode Island game, but they're gonna come back. Sorry, Terrell Furman. They're gonna get the A&T game. Campbell, that's homecoming, and like I said, man, I'm not ready to go ahead and just because they brought in the recruits and have the talent, I'm not ready to crown Campbell yet. They got to prove it to me. And this is one of those games. You're going to go to Richmond, Virginia on homecoming and just give them the win. I'm not ready for it. So I got them beating them, got the bye week before Elon, who was a double overtime loss last year by 3 points. I think they're going to get that Elon game. So I got them going 8-3, 6-2 in conference. Yes, sir.
Wow, you want to crowd them. I mean, they've been a blue blood for a long time. Mm-hmm. But I need to see more on the offensive side of the ball. At number 7 for me, I have the Villanova Wildcats. Who do you have at number 7?
I had Albany, but I had Villanova at 6.
Okay. This is one that I feel like we could be way off. I feel like this team might be better because I can tell you that Mike Ferrante or whatever the fuck, he's a good coach. He's 37-26, and last year was like this bad year. The year before that, they were pretty damn good. Connor Watkins back at the quarterback spot. The running backs, you gotta like Ayu Durajaye. I can't fucking talk. D. Will Barley. The running backs, I like. The quarterback, gonna be better this year. Gotta be better this year. And more experience. He's returning. You have to be optimistic about that. I also like Ray John Pringle at the wide receiver spot. The offensive line has got a couple guys. Michael Corby is one that caught my eye on the offensive line for the Wildcats. Defensive side of the ball, I thought they had enough returning that it was encouraging. Now, once again, this team was not great a season ago, so you do worry a little bit. But the Villanova Wildcats have been kind of a blue blood in the just like Richmond. which makes it tricky because if you trust the culture, then they're probably going to bounce back and Richmond and Villanova will compete for a championship perhaps. But I'm a little reluctant to do so and think so. Talk to me about your opinion on the Villanova Wildcats.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the names. I mean, offense and defense, you're bringing back a ton. Defense needs to play better, but you love bringing back that much talent. You lost one guy, really, Antonio Montero, a linebacker that I really thought was like of major note. All the other pieces are back. I mean, for this team, I think the whole breakdown is you kind of touched on it. Connor Watkins, the quarterback, don't turn the ball over 11 times. He's a dual threat guy. You got a ton of running backs. You got everything coming back at wide receiver. Another name I saw was Jaron Hayek, 810 yards, 8 touchdowns. He's also back as well. So you're bringing back weapons all over the offense. Just cut down on the turnovers, play a little bit better defense, and this team's a real threat. So definitely one to watch.
Yeah, no, and I actually like the schedule somewhat too. They don't have William and Mary. They do have New Hampshire on the road, but they don't have William and Mary. They also don't have the Richmond Spiders. Out the gate to build momentum, I kind of like their schedule. They're at Lehigh. They're home to Colgate. I expect Villanova to be 2-0 before they head down to the Moon Bounce to take on UCF in Orlando. That'll be a loss, but then they jump back and they get Rhode Island. I circle this game as like a very fucking key game. Now I have Rhode Island winning because they have one of the best quarterbacks in the FCS. This is a huge game that I could be wrong on. After that, they're at Albany. I like Nova's chances to win on Bob Ford Field, and then I like them to beat A&T. So you could be sitting there if I'm wrong about the Rhode Island game and they get that win, they'll be 5-1. I think to start the season. Then they're home to Elon. Now I think Elon's a more complete team, but it's in Philly, so it wouldn't shock me. Then after that, they get a bye week. Then they're home to Stony Brook. They should win that. They're at New Hampshire. They should lose that. Then they're home to Towson. They should win that. And then at Delaware, rivalry game. That is a winnable game. Dude, I like this schedule, and we really could be wrong about them, even though I projected them way the fuck back at what did I have them at? What did I have Nova at? 7th? Yeah.
I mean, I got them sitting 7-4 with a lot of room. I mean, if you really look at this schedule, I'm seeing UCF at New Hampshire at Delaware. Those are 3 that they're probably going to lose. Everything else is
they
winnable.
could win the Delaware game because that's a rivalry game. The Delaware game is much more winnable than the other 2 to me.
I agree 100%.
Yeah,
so, it's a dangerous team.
Gonna be fascinating to watch, folks. I want to tell you that the college football experience is brought to you by good old Game Time. Yes, buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll be having. All right. Forget planning months in advance too. All right. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. All right. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And they have the Game Time guarantee, which means you'll always get the best price. And get this, if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use the code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, create an account, redeem code CFBX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right. We are back on the college football experience talking CAA football, and we've gone through. So wait, I'm curious, where are you at? You've given away your 7th, your 8th, and your 9th. Have you given away your 6th?
Yeah, 6 was Nova.
6 for me was Elon.
Okay, that was my 8.
So okay, at number 5 for me was Campbell. Who'd you have at 5?
I had Delaware, the Blue Hens, fighting Blue Hens. Let's go.
Ooh, I have them at 4, so we're not that far off. My thing is, I kind of like Ryan Carty as a head coach. I think he's going to be pretty damn good. Year 1. 8-5. Some say they shouldn't have made the FCS playoffs, and Rhode Island should have. Who knows? But they won at Navy. That game was impressive to me. This guy, Carty played quarterback. I remember watching him play quarterback at Delaware. And that's the big question, I think, coming into this year. They bring in JUCO transfer Zach Marker. They also have redshirt freshman Noah Sanders. Who's going to be starting? Kyron Cumby's back at the running back spot. Delaware's they got an NIL collective. They got things going. There's a talk about a jump to the FBS. It's a very exciting time for what has been an unbelievable program throughout my life. Back to the days of fucking Rich Gannon. All right, they have been really, really good, and I want to see them rise up again because they've always been fun. Chandler Harvin is a wide receiver I like. I also circled the tight end spot. Braden Brosey, he's good. I mean, the offensive line, Blaze Sparks, really just comes down to also Finton Brose on the offensive line, but really comes down to the quarterback play. How are we going to see? What are we going to see out of the quarterback room? Defensively, it seems like just a few years ago they were monsters on defense, but Danny Rocco's now at VMI, and I did circle the defense as a little bit of question marks. Now Chase McGowan on the defensive line stood out to me. Dylan Trainer also in the linebacking core. I am a little shaky. I mean, they good special teams too. I should note, best kicker and best putter in the CAA. I had him 4th. You had him 5th. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about the Blue Hens, man.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, on offense, the only thing I'm really worried about is the quarterback position. But it's a pretty big question. I mean, there's nobody really standing out at the moment. It's a true 3-man competition. So very interesting there. Running back, wide receiver, pretty shirt up. Feel pretty good about that. You touched on the O-line, looking solid there. Defense is what made me kind of shaky. Linebacker Johnny Buchanan, 128 tackles and a sack. He graduates. Noah Plack, another linebacker, 81 tackles. He transfers to UConn. You lost defensive back Kedrick Whitehead, number 3 in tackles. He had 2 interceptions. He's gone. Just a lot of names flying out on defense. Not much really coming in to supplement that. Like I said earlier, they're not one of the teams that really raids the transfer portal. So worried about the defense, worried about the quarterback, but you trust the program.
Yeah. And the schedule, let's talk about it. As we alluded to, Thursday night, August 31st at Stony Brook. That game's key. I got them winning that. I think you do too. Then they head to take on Penn State. That's not fun. And after the Penn State game, hopefully that's not too much of a body blow. They take on a St. Francis team who they did beat the piss out of in the FCS playoffs a year ago. So I do think they're going to open up 2-1 before that gigantic game, September 23rd, as they host New Hampshire. How about yourself?
Yeah, I have the same thing. I have 2-1 going into that New Hampshire game, and I think you're seeing 2 different stories. Delaware losing a lot, New Hampshire bringing a ton back. I got them losing that game.
I got them losing it too. 2-2, but man, that's exciting. All in September. They get a bye week. And they get an opportunity to refocus. And you got to love this 4-game stretch right here. Home to Duquesne, home to North Carolina A&T, at Hampton, at Towson. I do think they'll be 4-0 there.
Agreed.
So here's my thing. They'll be 5-1 in conference heading into this 3-game stretch, which is a tricky 3-game stretch because they're home to Elon, at Campbell, and home to Villanova. I mean, I kind of like them getting 2 of the 3.
Same exact thoughts. I have them getting 2 of the 3. I do have them losing to Elon. They lost to them last year. Pretty bad, actually, 27-7. I do have them beating the Camels and beating Villanova, but I think 2-1's the story.
So that would have me having 2 losses within the conference, which is why I have them at 4th. You have them at 5th. Okay. I mean, I feel like they're right there. At who'd you have at number 4?
That was Richmond.
Okay. At number 3, I think we're aligned then. I think we have the same top 3 schools.
We do. I bet in a different order, though.
All right. At number 3, I have the Rhode Island Rams.
I figured. I got New Hampshire.
Okay. The Rams. Okay, let's talk about the Rams first because Jim Fleming entering year 10 with the Rams, 31-62 all time. But they've been building in the right direction. They've had that chip on their shoulder. They didn't get selected to the FCS playoffs a year ago. Right? Kasim Hill's 3,000 years old. All right. And not only that, they have Kanique Bonner Stewart back, a Temple transfer as well. They have quarterback depth. They might have the best quarterback room in the whole CAA. But you really got to wonder. I mean, actually, no, the offense should be fucking really good because Summers at the wide receiver spot is a stud. They got guys on the offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball. that's where I kind of struggled a little bit. I know Brent Jackson was a name that stood out to me in the secondary, but that was what I circled as in my Wesley Neal on the defensive line's a stud. But this is where I kind of hesitated on when I actually kind of came into it wanting to put them second or first, and the defensive side of the ball was the red flag for me. What's your thoughts on Rhode Island?
Yeah, a lot of the same. I mean, Kasim Hill is where it all starts. This is a guy, he was with the Rams when 9/11 happened, when the recession in 2008 happened. He saw Trump, he saw COVID. This guy's been there forever. You got to be excited about that. There is a lot of depth there. Devin Farrell, a name to watch. He's a 3-star Virginia Tech backup, or that's going to be backing up Kasim Hill. So that's awesome. O-line brings in 4-star Boston College transfer Kevin Pine. Gotta love that. The defense did take some hits. A lot of guys gone. Evan Stewart comes back. Jarrett Martin at defensive back. He comes back. Ton of names now. If you look at where the transfers are coming in, linebacker 3-star Cincinnati transfer Devin Hightower. Another linebacker 3-star coming in from Georgia Southern, Sean Pelkison. You got a 3-star defensive lineman coming in from Virginia Tech. 3-star defensive back coming in from Fresno State, Randy Jordan. So
this should be the year, man. This should be the year. At least, look, even if they finish third, they get in the FCS playoffs.
Yes, you got to be in the FCS playoffs.
The schedule is nice too. The fact they get Stony Brook, Maine, New Hampshire, I'm sorry, not New Hampshire. Stony Brook, Maine, North Carolina, A&T. You get 3 out of the 4 that you want to get. You also have Towson, who we had ranked as 11th. So nice schedule. The non-con starts on a Thursday night banger against Georgia State in Atlanta at Center Park Stadium, which is a game I think Rhode Island's capable of winning. I favor Georgia State still, but would not shock me if they upset the Panthers at Center Park. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think that's a 1-score game. I got them dropping it, but you really want to make your statement that you were kind of screwed over last year and you want to get in the playoffs. They take that kind of thing into consideration if you beat an FBS school. So watch out.
Oh, dude, if they won this, then they're really looking good. Cause I think the next game, Stony Brook, is a win for Rhode Island. I think at Maine is a win for Rhode Island. I even have them favored at Villanova. So I got them winning the next 3 games. How about yourself?
I have them dropping the Nova one, beating Stony Brook and beating Maine. Second leg of it back against Nova. That's a tough spot there.
Well, this is what tricky one to me is they have both their rivals back to back. They get Bryant on September 30th. Bryant, remember, they're going to be in the CAA next year, and at Brown for the Governor's Cup on October 7th. That's tricky to me to have both rivals back to back. I got them dropping the game to Bryant. How about you?
I do think a lot of Bryant this year. I think they're a little bit of a sleeper, but getting them at home, I think you're ready for that game. I think they take both of those teams. I think they're much better than Brown. So I'm going to give them both wins against Bryant and Brown.
Well, then they're home to Richmond and at all. This stretch to me is this 3-game stretch right here is a little interesting. If they can go 3-0 here, it'd be an unbelievable stretch. Home to Richmond, at Albany, home to New Hampshire. I got them going 2-1. What do you got them doing there?
Yeah, I got them beating Richmond, beating Albany, and beating New Hampshire all there. I think this team, man, I'm telling you, they haven't made the FCS playoffs since 1985. They're hungry. Last year should have been the year. This year's it. This isn't a team that's going to overlook games. I like them getting these home games against New Hampshire, against Richmond. I think they're going to be ready for every single one.
Then they get the bye week and they're home to A&T, and then they're at Towson. I think they win those, and I still think, even with me penciling them as third, I think they're an FCS playoff team this year.
I agree. How many teams do you think are in the playoffs from this conference this year?
Well, how many was it last year? Last year we had Elon, William and Mary, Richmond. Am I forgetting one? Delaware. There was 4 last year, right?
Did you say New Hampshire?
No, that's 5. So there was 5 last year. Huh. I think it's 4 or 5. I think it's somewhere 5. Between 4 or 5. Yeah. All right. Well, look, at my number 2 team, I went pretty fucking chalk, man. I got New Hampshire as my number 2 squad. How about you?
Yeah, I got New Hampshire at number 3. It was really hard not to go chalk, and maybe that's a little bit of why I got Rhodey up there. It's just to break it up. But when you see what these teams at the top got coming back, it's hard not to go chalk.
The So New Hampshire, it's going to be fun. They're like a blue blood in the, Sean McDonald's in year 25. He's 157, 104 all time. They do avoid William and Mary, Richmond, and Campbell. That jumped out to me right away. Max Brosmer is very good at the quarterback spot. Dylan Lobb at the running back spot can play. What's up?
Watch that guy, man. Do everything. Return. Mean, did you see him in the playoffs last year?
Yeah, he's a stud.
Watch this dude.
Then I like Corcoran at the wide receiver spot for New Hampshire, and I really feel like that's a complete team when you add those three right there. The tight end, what's his name, Lepkowski, I think it is. He can play as well. The offensive line's got a couple of guys that I'm excited about too. So the offensive side of the ball, I think they're fine. The defensive side of the ball, they pop as well. Josiah Silver and Dylan Ruiz, I think it is, on the defensive line. They pop to me. I also like Ryan Toscano in the linebacking core and Bryce Shaw. Like, they're just a complete team. Randall Harris also in the secondary. I mean, it's going to come down to the schedule, I think, but they're right there, and I think they'll be in the FCS playoffs. How about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right in step. I'm not even going to like the key is I wrote 2 names on defense to that they lost. That's going to hurt. You got safety Pop Bush, 4 passes defended. Defensive tackle Nico Kvitis, if that's how you say that. Those guys both graduated. He had 2 sacks. Everybody back on defense that was really a name to watch. They're all coming back, and man, you nailed it. Brosmer, really good quarterback. Lobb, that's just a dude. Like, if you enjoy college football, you need to watch this team, and you need to watch Dylan Lobb. That guy is good.
Yeah, and you should be excited that you don't play Campbell, William, and Mary in Richmond. The schedule, even the non-con. You do start out with back-to-back away games at Stonehill and at Central Michigan. I think they're capable of beating Central Michigan. That doesn't mean I'm taking him, but on the right situation, then you get the Granite Bowl against Dartmouth. And then later in the year, no, that's their 3. That's their 3 non-con. So I got them going 2-1 in the non-con. What do you got them doing?
I do as well. The Central Michigan game was one I was like staring at, and I was thinking about it. And I was thinking, like, if McElwain keeps going in this direction, like how he was at Florida, where he just decided offense doesn't matter at all, and I'm only going to coach defense and lose to teams like Vanderbilt with Florida talent. Like, if he does that at Central Michigan, I was kind of thinking, like, they could win that game. But then I saw they got waxed by Western Michigan last year. So maybe I'm not going to put my money on that. 2-1 is what I got them going.
Yeah, conference play starts, though. They're at Delaware. That game is fucking gigantic to me, because if they get through that, they're really looking good. They're home to Towson. They get a bye week. They're home to Albany. They're at Stony Brook. Now, this one, even if they were to lose the Delaware game, the 2 road spots here of Delaware and then at Rhode Island, going to be huge. But after Rhode Island, they do have a home game against Villanova, which could be tricky. Then they're at Monmouth and then home to Maine. All in all, I think they miss out on winning the championship, because I think it will be William and Mary. What'd you make? Like, do you have them losing? How many games do you have them losing?
I have them losing 3 games in total, only 2 in conference. I think you catch Delaware at a really good spot with all the new things going on there. You catch them early. I'm not so worried about that road trip. Rhode Island, why I got them at 2. They get New Hampshire to go up that way. I got Kasim Hill getting a big win at home. Also, I do have them dropping the game to Monmouth. I think that's a tricky spot there late in the season, and got them dropping it. So 6-2 in conference, 8-3 overall.
Yeah, I agree. And then we both have William and Mary, and they return a shit ton of players. William and Mary, I think you just have to. Mike London's doing an unbelievable job. They have a fun offense. Darius Wilson is the quarterback. Malachi Emaw at the running back spot's good. Same with Bronson Yoder. So they have two really good running backs. Drashawn Kendrick at the wide receiver spot. I love this William and Mary team. I know it's chalk. I'm going chalk on this play. The defensive side of the ball, really like this team. Nate Lynn on the defensive line. Same with the linebacking core. I think really stands out with John P.S. and Isaiah Jones. The secondary with Ryan Poole, Jalen Jones, Marcus Barnes. I think it's probably the best secondary in the CAA. I just think they're the best team now. Stranger things have happened, but I also like the schedule. I think they could beat Virginia on October 7th. So I think if there's any team in the CAA that's going to beat a FBS, I think it's William and Mary against Virginia. Mike London played at Virginia. He coached at Virginia. It's personal. So let's. I mean, did you want to note any other players for the Tribe?
I think the only one you didn't hit was Jalen Jones that I wrote down. He's a defensive back coming back with 4 interceptions. But yeah, the whole defense is back. The whole offense is back. This team's fire.
It also helps when you don't play New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Guess what? You don't play New Hampshire. You don't play Delaware. Mm-hmm. You don't play Villanova. You don't play Rhode Island. I mean, that is a dream scenario. I also think they're actually the best team, but obviously the huge game to start the season at Campbell, that game's probably like one of the most important games, if not the most important game on their schedule. Then they're home to Wofford. Yeah, they're just not there yet. Wofford, Sean Watson, the new head coach there. At Charleston Southern, I did see a great hit from Charleston Southern's practice today, but I expect that to be a win. So if they get by Campbell, which I think they will be favored, they should be 4-0 before they head into Road Stadium to take on Elon. I favor William and Mary in that game too. I'll have them losing 1 by the bye week. Either Virginia, Elon, or Campbell gets them.
Yeah, I got them going actually 6-0 going into the bye. There's 2 FCS versus FBS that I kind of looked at and like didn't even really think about it. I was just like, you know what? They're getting them. It was William and Mary against Virginia and Marshall getting Votzak to come down and play them in West Virginia. So those are the 2. And yeah, I think William and Mary is straight up the better team against Virginia. Yeah,
I mean, William and Mary beat the piss out of Charlotte a year ago. And yeah, Marshall is hosting Virginia Tech this year. That's a group of 5. I mean, that's a Power 5 group of 5 game, but yeah. The bye week, after the bye week, they're home to Towson, home to Monmouth, at Albany, at Hampton, and then the Capital Cup against Richmond in Williamsburg. I got them going 5-0. I think this team's a shoo-in. The schedule is genius. The team is very good, but the schedule is also genius. That is why they're going to win the CAA and make the playoffs. I'm curious. Actually, hang on before I get your thoughts, because I want you to close out with that. But I want to tell the people out there that the College Football Experience is brought to you by Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon. Sign up today for access to sign up for the Patreon to get exclusive access to our contests, including NFL win totals contest, $1,000 first place prize. Besides season-long contests, they also have weekly contests just for the patrons, plus a monthly SGP Stories podcast, completely ad-free and full of behind-the-scenes stories from SGPN. There's even a Discord channel just for the patrons. Only you can prevent corporate gambling, so do your part and sign up today. SportsGamblingPodcast.com/Patreon. That's SportsGamblingPodcast.com/Patreon. Mike, why is William and Mary the best team?
Yeah, for one, I can't believe I just fell back into 1984 and thought Marshall was. I don't know why I said that. Yeah, my bad. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was
that's embarrassing. No, I was like, after you said it, I'm like, wait, what is he talking? Oh my God, why did I do that?
Well, no, okay. I was wondering what the fuck you were talking about there. I was like, are you just saying big upsets, or are you saying FCS against FBS? But yeah, you're good. You're good.
Hey,
obviously, Marshall's
late here on the East Coast.
Yeah,
you don't know what's going on. Live Edge Slabs, guys, check it out. I got them going 10-1. I had them dropping the game at Albany just because I was like, maybe they're gonna lose one somewhere, and Albany was just respawn. He's my boy. So I got to go at 10-1, 7-1 in conference, winning the CAA.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer, and I think they get 4, maybe 5 in, folks. That does it for our show. Make sure you give Mike a follow. The guy's building fucking tables in the middle of all this shit. You know what I mean? He's over there in the trenches. Give him a follow at GCG_wins. And I know he knows college football. He knows that Marshall's been in the FBS, folks. So, but sometimes you have a brain fart. Sometimes you think, it happens. It happens, folks. Give me a follow on Twitter at TheColbyD. Also, the College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. So follow us. Season's about to kick, folks. And remember, we still got a preview SoCon, Missouri Valley, and the Big Sky before. And we have on one of those episodes, it's probably going to be the Missouri Valley episode. The very end, we will answer we will handicap 3 FCS games for week 0. So stay tuned. Subscribe at sg.pn/FCS. Remember, I also host the College Football Experience, where we're previewing all 133 college football teams. Subscribe, tell a friend. I also host the College Basketball Experience, the College Baseball Experience. We have the Big 12 Experience. Any other shit I'm forgetting? Probably. Check us all out. We come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience. And folks, get the SGPN app. It's free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. We're like 12 days away from the season. Less than that, actually. We're like 10 days away from the season. So cannot wait, and excited to bring you more episodes and talk FCS football more in detail. So until next time, this is the College Football Experience, FCS style. You better start thinking about yours, and we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking, and the whole world's looking with the cameras. Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And you know